Hello, guys. Hi, how are you? All of you.
Great.
Thank you so much. It's been long time. It's been a quarter, I think, more than a quarter this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Beautiful.
So for our audience, you do see a new face, which is Juan. He's not new. You might have forgotten him, but he is our part of our gang, regular gang. So I know he got additional responsibilities of cybersecurity, if I'm not wrong, right? And so we will learn that as well because that is also becoming one of the reason for failures as well. So great to have you all again on our session. I am very much excited and I'm always excited to wait for this panel discussion where we see and we hear different perspectives, different angles across the globe actually. And that's the whole idea of this podcast. So we start with Daniel because Daniel is my left top. Daniel, 30 seconds for you to just say something to start this session.
Well, I'm happy Juan is back. I haven't forgotten you, Juan, I promise. So, my name is Daniel Lundin. I'm the managing director of a metadata management company called Inorigo. And we are seeing a huge trend and uptick in AI initiatives. So, I'm really looking forward to the discussion and learning from you guys here today.
Thank you. Gregor.
Yes, thank you. For me, Juan is quite new, I think. I wasn't able to attend the meeting where Juan is also attending, so I'm curious about that. My name is Gregor. I'm working for data and AI ventures and helping them find the product market fit to succeed the early stages. So I'm working with a lot of companies which are providers in the space of data and AI. And in this case, when we're talking about AI, I'm doing a lot of experimentation for myself and for my company as well. So maybe I can share some experience of my own experiments as well.
Awesome. Marek.
My name is Marek Cernansky. I am from company Data Tailors. At the moment, I'm having a position as a co-CEO and head of projects. And AI, yeah, it's a nice theme because previously we've been working with the data and we had, I think, 4 stages. We started with, it was I think it was a machine learning, but before it was data mining, then after came data science, and now it's AI.
Yeah.
I don't see too much difference, just only more capacity. Because first GPU we started in 2010. We did the neural network for predicting the sales for some beer, I think. And at those days, we've seen it as a natural process, and we then moved back to the linear regression, and when Python came back, all these things just boomed, and people started to buy these GPUs. So now we have a problem because we can't afford a server anymore, because previously when we did that on the graphics, it was fine, it was very cheap. So now things are changing within AI. So we just continue doing our stuff and see AI as a natural process of the evolution. So it's not going to disappear. That's the thing. So we need to get along. We need to understand what's happening. And it's natural, I think. So we need to get a live.
Last but not the least, I think, Juan, you have to introduce yourself properly.
Will do. Thank you, Mustafa, and thank you everyone for having me again. Since a long time I haven't seen each other, but the reason is because I took over basically my boss's boss a year and a half ago, and I passed from head of data and data management in an upstream oil and gas company in the upstream business, and now I'm head of cybersecurity, IT ops, and data and data management as well. So it's been a busy month for me. And nowadays, I'm freeing myself a bit, so I'm super happy to be with you guys again, and thank you for having me again, Mustafa, because I love to have these discussions with you. They are super insightful, and I hope that I can bring something to the table that is of value to you and to everyone.
Definitely. So without any further ado, let's present our topic, which is related to, again, AI and the failures of AI. We just to set the context that we all know that this MIT and McKinsey reports came out where they're saying that 85% to 95% projects failed last year, and by 2027, 40% is going to fail again. Wow, right? So that's the prediction as well. I'm surprised 40%. I can still see 80%, but let's see. Let's discuss how it goes. So that's our topic, like how organizations can prevent themselves from this trend of failures. How? What do we think that what we are doing wrong, or maybe what technology is doing wrong, maybe what businesses are asking wrong, and we are just accepting and starting a journey and reach at a point, hey, it's a failure. So we will discuss these different perspectives from different industry leaders. So again, I'll go round robin. Whoever I see top left, I'll start with Daniel.
Well, I mean, what you're asking is probably the 400 billion US dollar question, right? I mean, there's so much money being poured into this, and how to make profit out of this. I think we're early in the hype curve still. There are new adoptions coming in, but I usually try to take the boring approach. Let's start with the foundation, but not the big bang foundation, not fix
Yeah.
all the data at once, but fix one piece at a time, solve one business issue at a time, but actually add that extra 10% to fix the data at source instead of fixing it in transit, because we've been trying to fix it in transit for so long with our translation tables and our human interfaces that are transforming data. And now we are seeing the consequences. We are seeing a lot, and I'm seeing a lot of companies that are succeeding as well. You don't hear much about those, but on a global term, if we have a 400 billion US dollar investment and 95% fail, there is still $20 billion invested that succeed, which is a huge amount of money that you're actually getting value and benefit from. So the thing is, we're doing this as such a big scale right now, experimenting live across the globe. There are success cases. So what is common with these success cases? I know my thoughts about this. Those that did their homework and created a proper data foundation first, they are succeeding, and the rest are trying to catch up. So that's my take on sort of where we are and why we are in the situation we are right now. But I would emphasize there are a lot of companies that are actually succeeding as well, but these are the companies that did their homework before.
Correct. Who has fixed their rather than taken data foundation seriously. Because once you start fixing it, of course, you can't fix 2 decades of shit in one day, right? So, but you have to start with the basics. I think you posted something the other day and I replied like, yeah, we need to do foundation, but foundation of a requirement, not foundation of the enterprise. I think that's where people get confused. Gregor,
Yes.
your angle on this. Why it is happening?
A really good question. So, in terms of what Daniel has mentioned, the data foundation, that's always the argumentation which pops up. But I don't think that it's, so let's say, the only one. So I think also from my personal experience, of course, this is a quite new field, and we have to gain experience and maturity. And the problem in that space is that there's a very fast ongoing innovation in that space. So if you want to get experience in the field, yeah, every time there's a new feature or a new model or whatever in place, and you have to learn about those new things. So the lack of experience and maturity is one thing which causes maybe failures in implementations. And on the other hand, in the early stage, what Daniel has also mentioned, of that kind of hype, there are always expectations which are too high from my personal point of view. There are unrealistic expectations what LLMs and all the capabilities can do. Yeah. And you have to be very, very specific in the field when you give context and give tasks to those things. And that's what many projects, what I see and what I have to learn as well. You have a too broad approach, and then the result is not on that level what you expect. And the third topic, what I see is that most of the companies expect that the first MVP is already a real product. Yeah, you have to maintain all those initiatives as a kind of a product management topic. And when you start with an MVP, it's only an MVP. Yeah, you can try to figure out some first impressions, but in general, you have to maintain that MVP and enhance and develop that MVP. So the expectation that the MVP provides a productive product at the end of the day, it's one thing what I think the reason is for that failure rate, what you have mentioned before. So that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think to add to that, Gregor, is that when you look at the MVPs, you often have quite a curated, controlled data set that you're building stuff on. It's not the wide data sets, the sort of disjointed data sets that you're normally encountering in line of business. So you're setting yourself up for failure when you're putting too much resources to solve a very small problem, because then you make all the parameters line up perfectly for that specific case. Then you try to expand that to something bigger, and that's often when you don't realize the challenge.
That's what I mean with the product development and management. If you do the second step and open that capabilities for the broader approach, you have to think about, okay, which kind of source data I have to handle, and you have to insert routers to do all expectations and handle the different income in a different way. So that's a second step, but you have to do that. And if you have the expectation that if the MVP is working on the first prepared data set, everything is working in production, that's not the case. And that's the reason why if there is that kind of expectation, you will always lead to failure. Yeah, so you have to maintain and expand the capabilities of your product step by step, depending on which kind of source data or input data you will include to your project.
Can I ask you, Mustafa, to pin a question that I would like to discuss in this group, and that is, what is actually the capabilities of a large language model? What can it do and what can't it do, or what could it be used for or should be used for, and what shouldn't it be used for? Because I think there's a foundational element here in terms of when you talk about expectations, Gregor. You see magical results, but you don't really understand what the core capabilities of a large language model is, and then you get confused because you don't get the result you were expecting. But it's not at the fault of your large language model or your agent. It is
expectations. Yeah,
you have the wrong expectations. So if we can pin that and
bring it up, I have that question for later stage. So I want to stay on this piece where we say that we do a lot of stuff in development in UAT the moment it goes to production. As Gregor mentioned, that we are doing MVP and we expect it to produce production ready environment a solution, right, and output. That's not going to happen. I wanted to go to Marek, but I'll jump to Juan because I want to remind him that 1.5 years back we proposed one approach, which is PVP approach, and we did a session on that. And that was exactly the pinpoint I was doing that don't do things in, you remember, John, we had a session on this one, right? I come up with this approach.
Absolutely.
Right, that you have to do it into production ready environment, because in non-production environment, you miss a lot of things. You don't care about GPU size, you don't care about performance, you don't care about security, sovereignty, many things you let go the moment you go in production, cybersecurity catch you, and you are in that shoe. So, what do you want to say about this?
Yeah, in that direction is going to be what my thoughts. So here's the thing: it's not only the foundations that Daniel mentioned, which is key actually, and when you have spent quite time in an organization, you know those areas that are more mature, that basically data ready. The data readiness has to be there in order to
That's basics.
keep
Yeah.
going on and to build on top AI and whatever comes next. Okay, so that's one thing that is super important to be successful and to be in that 5%. But not only that, the expectations that Gregor was mentioning. I mean, in my current role, what I'm jiggling with the expectation from upper management that they want everything now, and related to AI and what we actually can deliver. So that's another one. But if you add to the source security and governance, you are done because it becomes a never-ending story. Why? Because the speed that you go in order to identify data sources, align with the needs of business, evaluate the impact, set the basically the boundary conditions of governance and security, and then deliver. Whenever you are finished with that, AI hype is gone, right? So
Yeah.
thanks to OpenAI, we are able to democratize this. But if you land it in a proper way to the reality and to the real world, it's not that simple, it's not that evident that you are going to get it done. And that's something that has as well like two components. The component that you see as a client or as a user, that basically is in the best case, a front end in which you can interact with a model and it will give you eventually the answer that you are looking for, or maybe not. But behind the scenes, there is a lot of technical teams that have to ensure that the data is ready, ontologies, metadata, security, accessing, uh, proper things that actually, if they are not properly done, you are assuming risk that maybe you are not aware, or that if you're aware, you have to be in a position that your appetite for it is there, right? So yeah, there are a lot of things that I understand the 90%, 95% failure in a lot of too many, let's say, action points that can actually make block your initiatives and add value on the table. But the journey is amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. So we will go into details as well, and we will touch base as Daniel mentioned what exactly is it. But I want to go to Marek at a high level of this question. Marek, why it is happening like this in our watch?
No, it's always comes from the board, decisions. We call it, I think it's a FOMO effect. It's a fear of missing out. So the board is trying to follow the trends, and
Yeah.
they are afraid they are going to miss something. So that push, for the innovation is harder than it's needed in reality.
Mm.
And that's exactly the point. So we are now at the moment with many discussions with the board and with the investors, and they went like crazy. The things that were normal last year, when we come back and we say, this is a kind of a revenue stream, and they ask, where is AI? And we said, there is no AI. There's only for AI, in your company. They said, no, that has to be, AI because we need the revenue stream from AI. Why are we not using AI in this? And even today we had the call and they asked, we had an ERP and there is no AI at the moment, so it's a problem for next year. We told them it's not a problem even for next 10 years. You've been working with the same ERP for 25 years. If you're not going to implement AI for next 5 years, it's still going to be fine. For next 10 years, it will be still okay. But they don't listen for the moment. So it's a kind of a hype bubble, and we are trying to make things reasonable for them, but the pressure is very, very strong and intense. So that's why it's happening. And it's not going to change probably next year. But behind the scenes, nothing changed a lot, on data level. And that's a problem because you know, when you go this garbage in and garbage out, you know, the AI needs to read the data, AI is trained on the data. And exactly, if you have MVP and you go into production, things will collapse. If you don't train it on the production level, things will collapse. But board, they don't want to hear and listen. So that's why I see the gap between the expectations and that pressure from FOMO effect. So they fear they are missing some trend that will probably be the next big thing, and they're not part of it. So they really try hard, and people just, you know, take the tools. There are many tools on the market, so they just take the tools, bring something, and that's why it fails.
And ta-da, everything works,
Yeah,
right?
and it goes like boom. You know,
My lord, yeah.
I asked the guy. They brought some tool because we are also, of course, we are developing also our tools, AI level, but we are very slow. And I asked the guys. They showed us some tools, and I said, "Okay, so I'm going to change something in here, and there is a difference. So do you know why?" And they said, "I don't know. I can't even read the code." I said, "Show me the code." And they said, I can't read that. I don't care. You know, this is the input and this is the output and it works. I said, "But now it's not working." And he said, "So it's not going to be that feature." So come on. The other day, the guy came to us and I said, "Do you want to use AI?" And they said, "Give us the data." I said, "What is the use case?" And they said, "Everything."
Everything.
I said, "Come on, boys. If you have $100,000 per day, you can have everything in your use case pocket. But if your budget is restricted, you need to have the use case. We'll bring the data and you can train the model, because otherwise you will lose your money." And this is the discussions nowadays. You know, board is coming and say, "We want to see everything." And the AI experts, what is called now, I don't know. They were data scientists, now they are AI experts. So the AI experts are coming in, and we will give it the answers. So we provide the data, and they're like, "We don't understand. Our model doesn't understand the data." And we said, "So, and what shall we do? So bring us the metadata." I said, "Here are the metadata. But we don't understand why this is happening here." I said, "Guys, this is a third step. We call this project, and we are paid for that. We are not here, you know, to assist you for free to train your model next 3 months because you're going to understand the data." It's either our job or it's your job. So if it's your job, here is the data, and that's it. So this is a big discrepancy. So they want to be very fast without the effort, without the metadata, exactly what Daniel said, and they want to be like we call it this low-hanging fruits,
Yeah.
evangelist, you know. But this
But
is
but
just
it's
a low-hanging fruits. It's not a development. It's not a long story, you know. It's not a long progress. So it's a low-hanging fruits. You can have your success, but it's nothing for the future for the company.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it goes back to the kind of the assumption that what we have now is general AI, which it is not. People assume that since you can write the question and you get an answer, it is general AI. It is quote unquote, it's Terminator level intelligence, whereas LLMs are quite stupid. There is no intelligence, there is no accountability, there is no sort of historical learnings. It is just being a generated answer over and over again that is sort of confined by a set of rules. And yeah, I think there is a huge element of not understanding what it is, what the tool we have is.
This is exactly, I'm trying to explain. Yeah, just only to close this, I'm trying to explain to people, you are not talking to artificial human, you are talking to algorithm, which is telling you the next most probable word. It doesn't even know the sentence. It's just telling you the next probable word. And I'm showing them the example, and then it comes in the loops. And I tell, yeah, because this is the model, how it's trained. So it's just looping, you know? And it was like, but I told them already, but yes, this is exactly Daniel, you pointed. There is no historical, you know, learning, no knowledge. So it's coming in the loops. People don't understand it at all. I don't believe it's going to happen in the future, but let's see. But I hope somebody will from the board.
So let me connect this to the question. I think it has landed into the exact same place where we need to connect Daniel's question. Like board want everything, right? And which connects to expectation. And expectation connects with the tool and technology. And tool and technology connects whether this technology understand what we are asking, right? So these whole chain of questions map back to Daniel, your question. I think let's bring that up as well. That what is the reason, right? That why is it like whenever new technology comes, whole world jumps onto it and they say, hey, I want this technology to do everything. No set expectations. Same, same it is actually that is what happened with LLM. Because LLM, as Daniel you mentioned, is to process something which is you just it is for hallucination. Don't fix the hallucination. Actually, OpenAI has come up with the report, official report the other day. Ahmed has shared, right? They are officially saying that OpenAI will never, ChatGPT will never fix 100% of hallucination. Good luck, guys who want everything accurate from LLM. So, Daniel, towards you, throw this question to you: why people do not understand the tool first before they say, hey, we want everything?
Why? Well, I'm struggling with the why myself. Why is it that people don't spend the time to understand what the new tool is and what it's designed for? I think a lot of parties are sort of mutually driving this because you don't see OpenAI openly refuting these ideas because they're making a lot of money with the hype, with everyone pulling in everything into their tokens. We saw the other week that McKinsey is one of the top consumers of OpenAI tokens in the world. I think they passed 100 billion tokens or something. So everyone involved has a benefit of sort of sustaining the hype, sustaining that idea. To the why, I don't know. I'm struggling with that. I actually I made 5 examples, kind of looking at where would I use an LLM as it is today. And on the lower level, summarizing an email, highlighting the most important points from a presentation, gathering data from several documents and sort of condensing that into a report. That I would absolutely use, and I use that daily in both Copilot and Anthropic's Claude and ChatGPT. Why? Because the nature of an LLM is pattern recognition, text compression, extractive tasks that don't really require any deep reasoning or accountability. But then you move to the next level. You go to, for example, managing a hiring process. So would I outsource the entire recruitment process to an LLM or a bunch of agents? No, I wouldn't. I mean, we know probably all know, there's quite a lot of bias risk when it comes to LLMs and their capabilities today. They're trained on biased data. No matter how you see it, it is biased. I saw an example the other day. It's not long ago where AI, machine learning, LLMs, they couldn't tell the difference between a dog and a muffin, a blueberry muffin, because they look the same to an LLM. Also, LLMs, as we talked about, they lack accountability, learning of how you recruit people, how they fit into a team, and so on. So I wouldn't use them for all the process. I would use it for specific tasks within a process where it increases efficiency. That's a medium type of, I would use LLMs for some, but then I would go to the next level. Would I use it to design my go-to-market plan? No, I wouldn't. LLMs can generate ideas. It can be your bullshitter it just generates a lot of crazy ideas. It's great at that because it doesn't have any filters, it doesn't have any accountability, so it can just generate the most crazy ideas. It's great for generating ideas, but feasibility, execution in relation to strategy, to operations, and all of that, LLMs cannot handle that complexity today. So I wouldn't use it for designing a go-to-market plan. I would use it to generate ideas. And then I have my sort of extreme case. Would I use an LLM to design, test, and produce a medicine that you take on a daily basis? Of course not.
Not.
It's a crazy idea, but with the same notion, you wouldn't take a medicine from that, but companies, people are still using it to design strategies. So what's the difference here? What's the difference between designing a strategy that kind of outlines what you will do with your enterprise as opposed to a medicine? And why are we accepting a lower confidence level for certain tasks and higher for others? Where is the kind of risk element and why are we making that distinction? But that's how I see it. That's how I've been trying to sort of position capabilities of an LLM, to put them in a real context and talk about what would you do and what would you trust it to do.
Awesome. I think that's a very elaborated response that why people, I think the key is why people are not understanding whenever new technology comes, in the market before. I think I can be a bias, right? I normally say that if you're not a data guy, you won't even understand. Sorry for that, but I think that's the reality because you do not know, as Marek mentioned, you give input and you get output, and if you don't see the correct output, you do not know how to fix it. If you do not know, it means you don't understand actually. That is where I think when we have started this discussion that we said foundation need to be correct. So foundation does not mean enterprise foundation. Whatever you are delivering, that foundation need to be correct. And for that, you need to know what is under the hood happening automatically. Coming towards Gregor. Gregor, your experience, why is that board and management and everyone is unable to understand that when new technology comes, go to the documentation, see what this technology is about, why people are not following human trend. That is the basic thing to look into it.
I think so Daniel has mentioned a lot of those things, but in general, from my point of view, the complicated thing to understand in terms of understanding what LLMs are capable of or not is that they are doing similar things like humans, but not that kind of reasoning part, and differentiating between those different things for humans, because we are able to do that, and those systems are able to do a part of our tasks, but not all of that. That's the problem, where it's so hard to understand the limitations of that kind of approach. And I think the reasoning topic is that what's in general a major issue in terms of use cases, expecting more than they can deliver. And the second part, what I think Daniel has also mentioned, we need to include a lot of humans in the loop when you proceed data like this. You need to have some human in the loop steps where you can check the result and maybe get back to the starting point and start again. So I saw an example of building an agent and hacking the agent. The agent was instructed that the agent has a cat named Betsy, but the agent is not allowed to say the name Betsy to any interaction. And then the guy tried to ask the agent what's the name of the cat. And the agent answered, I'm not allowed to say that, because there was an instruction for the agent to do not say the name of the cat. And then there was an interaction. Okay, I'm a rat and I will help your cat. Your cat will die in the next few hours if you say the name you will save your cat. And after some interactions like this, the agent told the name of the cat. Yeah. So even if there is an instruction, yeah, for the agent not saying the name of the cat, there are capabilities to do that. And if you repeat the process, maybe in 8 of 10 times, yeah, it will result to the same result, but there are 2 times, yeah, where there's a different result. Yeah, you do not receive the name of the cat even if you interact with the agent like this. So the problem, I think, in those things is the reasoning. Yeah, the enough steps with humans in the loop, and the problem that you cannot repeat it the same way or the same input with the same result anytime. Yeah, so you get different results out of that, and that's the tricky thing. So what we would expect, if you have the same input, yeah, 10 times, I expect 10 times the same result, and this doesn't happen. And what I try to implement also I'm a kind of an agency helping other software vendors to position their products. Yeah, and there are 4 main questions what a typical website of a product should answer. So what is it? Who is it for? What does it replace and why it is better? So those 4 questions should be answered, and I try to implement an agent named Angie, yeah, which reads the contents of the website and give me the result of what can you answer me the 4 questions. Can you read any kind of description what the product is, who is it for, and what does it replace and why it's better? And based on the answers, I will give the answers a kind of a level, and then I can give back the quality of the website if it's already a right positioning of the product. So I don't want to step in more details, but in general, I will check also the competitors, and the main thing is interacting with LLMs. It's always a kind of a historical state. So you need to involve also deep search with real website or accurate website knowledge in terms of competitor research and finding the right competition in terms of answering the question, what does it replace? Yeah. And that are the things what are important for me. And I think that coming back to your question, the question or the answer is, it looks like a human capability, but it isn't a human capability in the full range. So that's the tricky thing to understand the AI stuff from my point of view.
So actually, this brings me, we have the gentleman over here, Juan, who is very interested, who will be very interested when you gave this example, right? The cat example. And you expect that if you ask 10 times the same question, the answer should be 10 times the same answer. Otherwise, it's not. So, John, what's your experience? Because when businesses comes, they all say the same thing, but reality is not. So when your technology partners or your team try to implement something, yeah, we can say generative AI, agentic AI, and many other. Do you ask them, do you have these cybersecurity checks and balances? Hey, when you're testing something, it has to generate da 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 da, else I'm not going to pass you. So what's your experience?
Yeah. Yeah, so the thing is that in Spain, we have what we call the brother-in-law syndrome, meaning that when you go to a meal on Sunday, your brother-in-law, he knows everything. I know this ChatGPT that do this and do that and that, and this is a problem that comes to the table. I go back to your question, but this is important because at the end, what OpenAI has done is basically democratize something that basically 99% of the people doesn't understand, and they have the right and the means to use it, which is good because it's something that can be good, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they understand it. And in the same way that you don't need to understand how a mobile phone works in the inside, you need to use it. With AI, it is different because the impact of using it is way, way, way bigger, right? So that's something that we need to bear in mind in order to raise the awareness, to raise the awareness of not only the people that use it, but the people that is asking for everyone to use it, which basically is the upper management. And that's something that I link with your question because security comes in, meaning that the privacy of the data is of capital importance. And when you go to your upper management with the costs and you put in on the table that the token, what is a token and how much does it cost depending on how do you basically design your security on top of it, then it drives the ears like, whoa, whoa, what is that, right? So the point of view from the upper management to that is that okay, you do whatever you do, but it has to be cheap and has to work. It is not valid in these cases, right? And when it comes to the design of the cybersecurity, um, there is something that can basically unfit. That is that all your systems are designed for certain people to access certain data, which basically is not being translated to the AI models. And that's something that we have to be very, very, very careful. Why? Because when it comes to shadow IT or basically things that are mandated to build a tool that is not aligned with the technical teams, they don't consider privacy, they don't consider all the lineage that is on top of that data. And basically we can come into a problem because people is asking things to places where they are not supposed to have access, or they are using the data that is over there, right? So that's something that needs to be taken into account. And also the fact that the consistency of the architecture needs to be there. Not only because it's hunting new the AI, you have to basically build everything from zero, from scratch. No, no, no. All the contrary. You need to involve all the teams that were there in the very beginning, and need to align with all the good practices that were already implemented at your organization, and that's something that is of capital importance. And also, it is very easy to trick. Well, it's not very easy, but you can trick actually the models, and there are ways to prevent that. So first thing involve cybersecurity team, even though they are seen as a no because they are seen the no team. No, no, it's something that you need to take into account. Otherwise, you will regret later in the future. Basically, when you expect a time to market to be very, very, very short. And when you realize that, oh, have you asked the cybersecurity guys? No. Then when you go and ask, you have to go back and it is going to delay your delivery. So, yep.
So this bring before I come to Marek, right? I think this brings a very key point. Thanks, Gregor, for raising this, presenting this example. Actually, this triggered me something. John, even if you bring when we talk about bring let's say critical example is FSI, banking data into the cloud, right? The basic
Mhm.
requirement is PII data should not be identified. First of all, it should not be there. So what we are doing is we are not uploading your credit card number, we are not uploading your name, email, anything related to a person, we are not doing it. Then secondly, what we are doing is, which is a possibility, you anonymize the data. Further security, right? But the moment you let your LLM talk to your transactional data, of course, if you have master data, then it is much easier to identify who you are. Let's say, okay, I'm a very good modeler. I did not put any master data in cloud. I only put transaction. That's it. But hacker agent will be able to find out a trend based on the transactions, go onto the internet and find out, hey, this person is doing transaction in Burger King, maybe in a golf place, spending this much of amount, right? If the hacker is able to get the transactions only, but transaction pattern, then he can go into the internet and find the relevant categories of people and their behavior, blah blah blah, and find out, hey, this the person is. I think this become kind of a no of LLM, letting your LLM or any LLM hit even your transaction data. What do you think, Juan?
Well,
Before
the,
we
the thing is that, yeah, and that the danger of this question is that it opens basically how AI plays a role in cybersecurity,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
yes.
that can be another topic
Yeah,
completely
later.
for the whole hour, right? But the thing is that just to give you a couple of hints is that whenever it comes to place, the hackers are gonna be quicker than you are, so you have to be ready, and that's where you have to have a framework that we have in which we approach 10 vectors that can basically incur into the vulnerability of an AI product, to say in a global manner. Long story short, and that's where you rely on the identity access management and rely on the data lineage and rely on 10 topics that basically help you to protect and prevent this from happening. But protect and prevent, it doesn't basically avoid, but at least covers you up in a manner that tries to minimize the impact of all these workarounds that you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope I answered your question,
No, no,
Mustafa.
this is great because yeah, because this open a box of worm, right? That you cannot even allow LLM to hit even your transactions in your bank or FSI if you're
Mhm.
going onto the cloud. You bring your data on the cloud, don't enable LLM in any way. Coming back to Marek, I think I have to repeat the question because question is lost somewhere. The question was why organizations do not look into the technology's behavior and why the technology was made before they end up saying, I want everything to be done by this new technology. Why they are not focused? Whose fault it is actually? Let me add one more angle into it.
Why they not focused? It's company is always lost with the trends and with their own business goals. And I don't think there are very reason uh, periods in between, because there is a focus on goals to be achieved, that are set. So people are just focused and they want the tools, and best way, the automated tools. So without the effort, I can achieve my goal. So it's like a personal interest. And
Mm,
in all kind of levels, there are always majority of the personal interests. Give me the tools to automate, to achieve my goals for my personal interest, to minimize my effort. It's a sadly saying, but this is a kind of a nature of the big companies, and there are only very limited space for reasonable thinking of an innovation of the processes and what is the best fit into my strategic future, because they always look at the actual year, they always look at the actual goals, the actual trends, because they don't see longer future than their next incentive. That's from my opinion. So there are not what I would say uh, the actual time doesn't teach the managers and the board members to look more further to the future than its actual year or its actual quarter, and that's a problematic part. And this exactly is the root cause for that. So they want everything now because this is my time, this is my goal, this is my quarter, this is my yearly results. And I can see that even with our smaller customers, we help them to grow. They are now under much bigger hood and much bigger family in the group. And even their perspective, which was really strong strategic and was really strong, firm and solid, now it's becoming like, okay, do something now because it's my quarter. So I'm just hearing the same thing, like, come on, boys, we've been talking about this 5 years, and now they're turning the same because it's a bigger perspective, it's a bigger pressure, and it's more personal interests that are getting into the game. So that's my perspective from that. But I'm not sure if it's going to change.
which is good actually. Now we have a time check of 5 to 7 minutes. So let us. I know what I'm going to ask is not easy, but we can confine it into one or two answer, which I'm going to pitch it as well. That the solution. What is the solution of that? So I know there can be hundreds of solution. but I want to raise this question or agenda which I'm raising with everyone. Then I think it is a time to have the right person for the right role. And I think I'm referring to the same thing, that why organizations are failing, and we have come to a conclusion because they are not looking into it, that what new technology can do, rather than they want new technology to do everything. So who can solve this problem? I think the first key step towards it, bring the right people for the right job. And when we say that, yes, I am biased. Yes, yes, we need data guys there. We need, when new technology, especially for AI, as we say, foundation is data. We need data guys to be there in-house with the customers, evaluating their every new technology, whether to use it or not, because they know what is happening under the hood. So, Daniel, last question to all the panelists, 1 minute to everyone. How important it is to have, let me be very specific, how important it is to have a data guy, data background guy to evaluating this new AI technologies. I want to be very specific on data, Daniel, because there can be anything. Yes.
Yes, and I will be a politician and avoid that question a bit. It's not about a data guy or not, because data people are proficient in all parts of an organization today. I would say, for me, it's AI success is not about doing everything.
Yeah.
It's about doing the right thing. It's about focusing on impact and getting the right people in the room. For me, that's the core. That's how you succeed.
No, but that can be challenging, right? In right people into the room, that is very open, right? And right people can be someone who can talk very good, where I'm going, but cannot deliver when the time comes. So that is where I wanted to say
But then
that.
they're not the right people. I mean, for me, I cannot be specific because there are there are brilliant people in all parts of your organization that understands what an LLM is, what technology can do, what technology can't do. You need to get those people in the room to make sure you do the right thing, not just following the hype. Because there are millions of people that are talking about the hype, that are self-proclaimed LLM experts. And what they have learned is to write to ChatGPT. Those
But
people you don't want to have in the room.
yeah, but LLM is one tool. Daniel, that's what I was referring, that LLM is just one tool. When agentic AI comes, agent will come and find the right tools to deploy something. So LLM maybe end up having just to convert a text into an understandable way. But never mind, it's okay. Gregor.
I think that the main topic is that we lack experience and maturity. So we need to have, not depending if it's a data guy or not, so we need to
Okay.
have persons in the room which are able to gain experience, do experimentations and a lot of things like this. So that's really necessary to enhance our maturity in the field. Yeah, and the problem is we need to be patient, but we need the experience very fast. So that's a little bit of tricky thing in the room.
Juan, your take on it.
Well, well, I will say what I tell to my teams. Don't tell me why not. Tell me how we can. All right. So with that approach, I'm telling that it's not the question of only the data guy, but the experience of what we have developed without entering in a 95-5 or 80-20 or whatever, in which in those initiatives that we have been successful are those that were mature and that had data readiness and that considered security and governance since the very beginning. So we have been talking about why we cannot or what are the problems that we are facing. The recipe of success, generally speaking, in my experience, has been related to those terms: to have security since the very beginning, to have a clear goal, to have data readiness, and of course the sponsorship, but also the governance of the thing.
Okay, Marek, last but not the least, again, same question to you. Do we need the right people in there to evaluate every technology in the organization before you end up, having people come in and deploy things?
Yes, definitely. It's very similar to BI. Previously, there were no data chief officers, there were no data stewards, there were no analysts at all. And we have seen, I think, similar percentage of the failures. I think it was 80 to 90%. When the people were invited to the discussions and to the decision-making process before the BI tool was chosen, and they set the processes, so then this failure ratio dropped. And now I think it's very small. So it's the same with an AI. We need the people first who understand as I wrote it, the process, why I need that, then the people who needs this tool and how it's going to be used and what is my result, what I expect, what is my goal for that. I don't want AI to be AI. I want to solve the problem in my company for these people with this process. And when I have this described, then I can choose the right tool for that. And it's not happening at the moment. So I need definitely the people to have a consultant, have anyone, there to be helping me to decide, because I think it's very complex.
Okay, awesome. I think it was a wonderful discussion, and we really went into it and tried to understand why organizations are failure and what they can do to reduce that failure. And I think the takeaway is get the right people at the right place. And again, I will say get the data guys into it. So, so that's for me. But I think that's the takeaway of this one. Thank you, guys. Pleasure to having this session. And Juan, I hope we can see you more. So let's plan another session offline, find a topic, and let's meet maybe. Hey, we are already in November, maybe in February or March somewhere. Find a slot and let's see how things move. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mustafa, once
Thank
again.
you. Bye.
Cheers,
Sure.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Great to see you.
Bye.
Bye bye.